Hello everyone, it is your Figure Break, and today in the break, we're going to be taking a look at Flair's Nero Claudia's Bride 2nd Ascension version. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your break. Okay, so Flair's Nero Claudia's Bride 2nd Ascension version. There was a lot of work that was actually put into this figure. And the first thing I want to talk about is going to be the outfit. Wonderful sculpt work was put into this, especially in the corset area. There's wonderful wrinkles that were put into it. And then, of course, all the zippers going down her legs are just beautifully detailed sculpted. And there is just a little bit, a tinge of blue shading that was put into the outfit. It was mostly to bring out, it seems, the lines of the sculpt itself. For example, these bell parts on the sleeves, there's just a little bit of blue that was put into the lines on them to really bring out the sculpt work in them, which is a really good kind of balance that they did, where the sculpt is kind of speaking for the figure itself, and then the shading is just completely complementing it. So they didn't add in too much shading to where it's no longer a white bridal dress anymore, but it really shows the sculpt work of the figure, the amount of shading that it does have. The hair of the figure, and veil for that matter as well, has really good sculpt work put into it. There's just a little bit of a curl at the bottom of her bangs, and then of course the front bangs are just wonderfully detailed sculpted, and it's all complemented with just a little bit of orange shading. And then when you get to behind her, her bun is obviously covered by her veil, but it does have a little bit of shading on it, and then of course the wonderful flowers that are around it as well. There's even a little bit of dynamic movement with the bow on the back, and then of course the ever so slightly opaque yet clear veil on the back is wonderfully done, and then of course the shiny gold to complement it all. So really well done on the hair and the veil on this figure. The face of the figure has this very stoic, powerful yet beautiful look onto it, which is just very fitting of Nero, and is almost pretty much Nero when she's, not super happy or anything like that. So it's a wonderfully made face, and it's very fitting of this figure. Now to talk about one of the kind of major flaws, unfortunately, with this figure, which isn't actually too bad, but it definitely could have been improved upon, and that is how her sword is displayed. There's not any pegs or anything like that to try and keep the sword there. In fact, with just a little bit of nudging, it can easily fall out with very little effort, unfortunately. Now, what's strange is the sword is fairly well sculpted and painted, so they put effort into the sword, but just no effort into how to display it. Now, one of the interesting features, actually, about this figure is you don't have to swap out an arm or anything like that, where the arm just simply swivels down and you display her that way, which kind of shows a little bit more sass and power to the entire figure, and shows much more of that powerful, beauty, stoic look that Nero sometimes has. Now, as for the base of the figure, it's a pretty plain base with a little bit of work put into it. There's just a little bit of glitter that's hanging in the pink plastic on the figure, with a little bit of floral designs on the ends, and then her name onto it. Again, fairly plain base, but sometimes it's a good thing because it doesn't distract from the rest of the figure. So some of you are probably wondering why I haven't really mentioned a scale yet for this figure, and that is because actually on the box, and including my figure collection, she actually isn't scaled. She's not a 1/7, she's not a 1/6 or anything like that. It's not written anywhere. Now, to give you a sense of how she would look probably next to your other Nero figures if you have them in your collection, this is Goodsmall Company's Nero Bride 1/7, and this is Goodsmall Company's 1/7 just regular Nero Claudia. So she seems to be around this height range, but she is also made by Flair, which is a different company. Now, they are a sister company of Alter, and when I compare her to some of my Alter figures, she does appear to stand a little bit taller than them, so it's a little confusing to what her scale actually is, But if you're comparing her with the other Good Smell Company Nero figures, she's probably more of a 1/7. So if you're worried about of her being like too short in your collection of Nero figures, don't worry about it too much. She's probably going to fit just fine, as you can tell. So as for a rating of this figure, I'm going to have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Flair did a really good job on this figure. It's unfortunate about the whole sword not being really able to be displayed properly. They could have done a little bit better job on that by like either putting in some kind of peg on the bottom for the sword tip to fit in. Like even that would help just to prevent it from just sliding around all over the place. So that's kind of unfortunate. However, the sculpt work and the paint work on this figure is beautiful. The corset, the zippers, the little subtle shading that they then put in to accentuate all of that shading, it's just beautiful. Flair did a really good job on this figure. Also, despite the fact that, you know, it has a really weird scaling to it, it's really not going to do any harm to your collection in terms of the size of it. It'll go perfectly well with all of your Nero Claudius figures in your collection. So I would absolutely recommend it for any Nero Claudius fan, and if you're a Fate fan, I would highly consider this figure as well. Okay everyone, that concludes my review of Flair's Nero Claudius Bride 2nd Ascension version. If you enjoyed the review, make sure you leave a like down below and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when more reviews are going to be coming out. And I really hope you enjoyed your break too. And I will see you in the next video. See you later. I would like to take this moment to thank my Patreons, especially Neat, Dimmick, Jessica, and Ice9EX. Thank you for supporting. And if you wish to support the channel, my Patreon link is in the description down below. Thank you.